Come to bcvort.com and comment every day for your chance to win 2-player mega bundles.
Hi guys, and welcome to another build video from myself. In this one we're going to be looking at the M3 Grant, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the vehicle itself as well as building the model. So on the table first here I have all my parts laid out, so I've clipped them all off the sprues and prepped them accordingly. Now this is to build the full proper British version, which is the Grant, the M3 Grant. You will have parts on this sprue to make the M3 Lee as well, which is the American one. And what I'll show quickly here under close cam is the sprue. So what we're not using on the sprue is the other turret, which if I show here, the other turret which is here. I've got an open cupola, but that's an optional piece for the Grant. There's a couple of extra stowage boxes. This gun down here is a long 75mm gun. That is not present on the British Grant. Across from that, there's a few other little bits like these machine gun cupola turrets and stuff like that. We're not using those because they're, again, for the American one. You can build that turret and just set it aside. You can completely build it and just leave it there. And if you want to make this an American one, you can do that. If you maybe magnetize the gun barrels, you clip the gun barrels, maybe magnetize them or pin them, something like that might be a good way to go about it. So let's go over to our build. And the first thing we need to do is build our lower hull. So I'm going to move those parts out of the way, move everything else out of the way, the turret as well, and our little extra stowage pieces. So we're left with just these. So what we need to do first is glue the front hull and the back hull on. So we'll take the tracks away and we'll glue the front hull on first. And that's pretty simple. Straight across those open pieces, and then just take our transmission casing and that will just happily sit into place about there. That's the front hull. We'll then do the same for the back plate, like so. And then remember that this piece, those little bulges left and right at the bottom, well, near the bottom, are for the rear idler wheels, so that's how you can orientate yourself. But the part fits pretty smoothly into its proper location. Next thing, we'll glue the tracks on. So I just take a line of glue starting from the front of the transmission case and just draw a straight line across it. Make sure we have the right side of the track, which has the 3 corresponding pins, and press that in. Oop. So sometimes I work a little bit faster than the glue sets correctly. We'll then do the same on the other side, and you can see it only requires 2 pins, which are on the correct side of the track. Press them in, and then what I tend to do to stop wobbly model syndrome here is that if you're working on a nice flat surface, just hold the tracks in place and just press the hull in several places, making sure that the tracks are staying straight, and that way it sits nice and flat on the table surface. Now we'll move over to the upper hull, and we're going to start with the gun, the 75mm gun, and this is a 2-sided piece, so it has corresponding join points basically, and it will sit down in behind the curve of the armor plate like so. From there we'll then just run a line of glue, not all the way up to the gun mount, and then back along the back plate and just up to where the corresponding piece starts to curve in. We then take this piece and that will sit down, and that is going to just lock into the top of the main gun and then glue itself into the top, so we actually can traverse the 75mm, which is always a very nice little trick. Now we'll move on to the back of the hull, which is pretty much where the rest of the detail is. We have this, which is the back piece of this armor, and it will face, let me see here, it will face up the way. There's some rivet detail along this edge which will denote what way up, because this will be the upper facing. Again, just a quick little nip with the glue. and then press that in like so. So that's all we need to do on that part. We then have two stowage boxes which sit left and right on the hull, and the way they have to sit is that to make sure that the box is level when it's actually in place. So I have to make sure that, I'm pretty sure I have this right. So I'm going to dry fit this one. Nope, that is not right. This one is though. So what I'm going to do is just take the other box off the sprue. I knew I'd potentially done something wrong, but I wasn't sure which one. So that will sit to, the plain top one will sit to this side, which will sit there like that. You see the way it's nice and level across the top of the box. And then same on the other side with the one with the axe on it. So we'll, we don't throw it around. We'll place it first. And it sits nice and level. I'm just going to quickly take some of the flash off from there and then press this other piece in. Okay. There you go. So that bit was wrong, so I just move that out of the way for now. That is more or less the upper hull done. So we can now, as we call it in engineering terms, marry the two of them up. And I think the way to approach this is going to be gluing along here, and then we'll follow the straight. I'm pretty sure that's the way that this is going to want to glue together. You can also glue these pegs at the back here too. And then we press both parts together, and they will sit good and snug. So I'm just going to double check and make sure that the hull is sitting level, which it is. Now, before we move on to the turret, let's just finish the hull off. So we have two sand channels we want to put on, and the way these go on is the angular part of the mudguard goes to the front of the vehicle. So we'll glue those on. A little line of this glue here, and it will follow the curve of the other mudguard. Oh, correction, sorry, I did actually say it the wrong way around. The angular pieces to the back of the vehicle. My apologies. And that will sit just under the side part of the mudguard mounting, and will slot in like so. So that's the way to get it to look neat and tidy. Again, same on the other side. So what we'll do this time is, no, screw it, we'll do it the same way we've done it before. We'll just put the glue underneath the overhang, like so, and then slot this. I say mudguard, it's more of like it's a dust screen or a dust guard, I'm gonna call it that. Basically just to reduce the amount of dust that the tank's kicking up as it's driving through the sand. Now, that will do for the hull. Let's move on to the turret. This is the distinctive turret to denote the British Grant, has this elongated back piece, and is a little bit more spacious inside. Not by much, but a little bit. Right, the first thing I want to do is glue the pin into the bottom of the turret. If you have magnets, you will of course use magnets, but if you don't have magnets, this is what you'll use. So you'll just use the parts that are on the sprue. From there, once that's in place, we'll then glue the cupola, the commander's hatch, onto the top of the turret. And it can only fit one way because it's a slot and pin design. So you just have to line that up, and it just sits in like so. And finally, the gun. Now, the gun will sit, see, in a manner where there's a small bulbous bit, a shorter bulbous bit, I'm not sure if you can see that, it goes underneath. That sits underslung to the gun, that's part of the recoil mechanism. So again, just a dab of glue in there, and then this little 37mm will just slot in like so, and I think it'll just sit nice and level the way it is. And then the last step is to glue upper and lower turrets together, and they have slots in place for that. So I'm just going to Run the glue around that. And then press the two turret components together to form our Grant's turret. So then we'll bring the hull back in. We'll then place the turret, and we have a couple of little stowagey bits. So what I'm going to do is take our sort of canvas wrap here, and we're just going to suspend it along the sand guards or the dust guards up here on the side, and let it hang a little bit low as well. And we'll just place that and just let me eye that a little bit. I think that looks alright to me. Don't see anything wrong with that. For a little, we have a little 3 can arrangement here. This would be like the British water cans or fuel cans before they started to really use captured German jerry cans and start to produce them themselves. And I would like to put that up here on top of that mudguard. So I'm just going to place that up and set it there, because most likely that racking would have been welded or screwed to that part of the tank. And finally, I have a little jerry can, and I think, I'm not sure where I really want to place it right now. I think we'll just place it over the back decking. In fact, we'll put it on top of this stowage box up here. Just place it on its side. Most likely they'd be carrying water or something like that. And that is our M3 Grant. It's quite a nice looking little model, and as you've seen, quite easy to put together. Just with a few things as well, you have to note that a few of the parts are particularly for the American variant before the British took them and had them modified. So, the Grant. Well, the Grant was a stopgap. Everything about the Grant was a stopgap. I feel I may argue the point that there was one piece of technology that they were waiting for Detroit to finalize before Sherman production could begin, and that would be something called the RBJ, the rotary brush joint, if I remember right. That allows a turret to rotate 360 degrees while maintaining all its electrical connections. So it's a little rotary brush system, several brushes to how many ever cables there are, and as they rotate, they maintain electrical contact. That allows the turret to spin, which gave the Sherman a very nice fast turret traverse, but also didn't interrupt with any of the electrics that were in the turret, because there was interior lights. You had the radio set in the back of the turret as well. You didn't want that losing power all of a sudden. Plus all your generator set, your auxiliary generator was in the hull. It wasn't up in the turret either, just not enough room. So the Grant was a stopgap that had several major flaws between what I would call pre-war tank production to mid-war tank production. This was the last tank that I've really seen that it sort of highlights a lot of those teething problems that the early tanks had as compared to when the Shermans came out, and they'd really ironed a lot of those problems out. Chiefly, of course, the height of the vehicle. It's 13 feet tall in real life. It has a crew of 6 with the British and 7 with the Americans. It's taking up a lot of manpower as well. The fact that the main gun was in a sponson off the side wasn't a great idea either. However, it was a sort of an intended design to be, you can fire AP with it if you want, but we're really using it to fire HE. They still believe the 37mm was what they wanted in it, which wasn't entirely wrong, but wasn't great. And the fact that the tank was so tall, you couldn't hull down the vehicle either. You couldn't just expose your turret. You had a lot of vehicle to try and conceal. One of the other major problems with the Grant and the Lee in particular were the rivets. I think there was an experiment somewhere that they welded one together. I cannot remember, guys. If there's a bigger historian out there, let me know. Just drop a comment and I'll check those out. But the fact that the tank had a lot of rivets in the design made it a big flaw as well, because if a small shell ricocheted off, it could shear a rivet head and send that into the vehicle and damage equipment, or more importantly, the crew. What the Grant did, though, was give the Americans and the British a tank that they could face off against the late model Panzer IIIs, early model Panzer IVs. with a fair chance of actually killing it if they could get the first shot off. That's simply down to vision, crew training, and effectiveness of all those people working together inside one machine to see the target first, to shoot first, and hopefully hit first and kill. However, the Americans weren't as battle-hardened as some of the British forces were. Certainly none of us were as battle-hardened as the Germans that were in Africa at the time. And you typically find the Panzer crews were a lot more motivated. They had a lot more experience because they'd fought from Poland through to France, and then we're now in North Africa doing the same thing. That's, of course, supply problems, logistics, and health of your troops put aside. Generally, the German troops were a lot better motivated and just had better tactics. They knew what they were doing a lot more than what the British and Americans did at the time. That slowly started to change, of course, but anyway. The Grant, to me, is a tank that personifies the teething problems between what became the Sherman and what came before the M3. So like the M2 medium and the M2 lights and stuff like that, all that smaller designs. To an extent, the British Crusaders and Cruiser tank series as well were like before the Grant. Then the Grant came along, and it was like, it is literally the midpoint where we went, these tanks aren't good enough, here's where we want to be, but the technology isn't there, so we've got to make this. And to be fair, it didn't do so well in North Africa, but it did serve the Allies in Burma and the Pacific very, very well, because the Japanese had nothing to get through it. They had artillery, but their tanks weren't up to the task, and they found that the Grants and the Lees did amazingly well out there. So that is my vid, my build and my chat on the M3 Grant. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are enjoying the coverage of the bootcamp weekend as well. So thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again soon.